Okay. All right, let's begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, good morning, everyone. It is June 27th. Welcome to the Shawnee County Board of County Commissioners. I'm Aaron Mays, currently serving as chairman, represent District 3. On my left is Commissioner Bill Rippon, representing District 1, and on my right is Commissioner Kevin Cook, representing District 2. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Madam Clerk, first item, please.
First item is item 1, proclamation presentations. AA presentation on the 2021 financial audit by Kristen Hughes, RSM US LLP.
Good morning.
Morning.
All right, thank you for letting me join this morning. I'm going to go through just a brief summary. I think you've been provided with copies of what we refer to as the audit deliverables, which will include the county's audited financial statements for the year ending December 31st, 2021. The second bound packet is the compliance report, and then the third stapled packet includes what's referred to as required communications to those charged with governance. So those just summarize some required communications that the auditing standards do require us to communicate back to you at the conclusion of the process. So I'll start with the required communications. So the stapled packet, as I mentioned, there are certain topics that we are required to communicate back to you at the conclusion of an audit. So this letter summarizes those topics. Here you'll see noted, first of all, significant accounting practices. That's just to note if any significant new accounting standards were implemented in the current year that changed anything about your financials, those would be summarized. There were none in this year, actually kind of a quiet year on the financial reporting side, so no items summarized there. Significant estimates, that just is to remind you that there are areas in the financial statements that are estimates that have subjectivity, and so we do take a look at those as part of the audit and make sure those seem reasonable. Examples include things like your pension liabilities, fair value of estimates, etc. Audit adjustments and uncorrected misstatements. On page 2, if any adjustments come up. So you'll see one adjustment came up. So what that means is an item that came up during the course of the audit. It is included in that financial, the final audited product. That says a lot, excuse me, for one adjustment to come up during the course of the audit, that says a lot to the work that's being done by your departments to get ready for us. It's a lot of work to prepare for our audit work. We are on site and working through things for several weeks, so you'll see one item noted here. Uncorrected misstatements, those are similar, an adjustment that may have come up during the course of the audit, but it was deemed immaterial by both your team and ours, and so rather than running that through the financial statements, you'll see that summarized here instead. So just a couple matters that came up this year really from a timing perspective. If any difficulties were encountered in performing the audit or any disagreements with management, we are required to communicate those to you. You'll see the letter stays silent to that because no such matters came up during the course of the audit. The remainder of the packet is the management representation letter. So simply at the conclusion of the process, a letter is signed that says the financials are accurate to the best of their knowledge as well as the information we were provided with as we performed our audit testing. So you'll see that included. In the smaller packet, the compliance report. So what this summarizes, I'll point you to page 10. This is really kind of a nice one-page summary of a lot of the results of the audit. So as a reminder, the purpose of a financial statement audit is not to give an opinion on internal controls. So we do not provide assurance on internal controls, but standards do require that if we become aware of any material weaknesses or significant deficiencies in the testing we perform, both as it relates to the financial statement audit as well as the grant audit, that we do have a responsibility to report that to you. So here you'll see summarized on page 10, there were no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies that were identified in either the financial statement audit or the compliance audit that we performed over the county's federal grant expenditures. So that's good to be able to note that no items came up. But as I mentioned, that's not the purpose of the audit. So you'll see in the letters, there does still exist the potential that those could be in the county, depending on areas we may or may not have looked at. The compliance audit, so the county expends more than $750,000 in federal expenditures, which does require us then to perform a compliance audit. So you'll see here also on page 10, the county had about $6.2 million of federal grant expenditures this year. We looked at 4 of the grants, which provided about 50% coverage. And again, no instances of non-compliance were identified in our testing performed as far as how grant expenditures were expended. And lastly, the financial statements. I won't go through these in great detail. What I will note, first of all, the audit opinion. It's an unmodified opinion, which is the AICPA terminology for what's more commonly known as a clean audit opinion, meaning the financials are presented in accordance with GAAP. At the front of the financial statements, I'll point out management's discussion and analysis. So while that's actually an unaudited part of the report, it's key. It's management providing a narrative that explains maybe the significant whys in 2021 compared to the prior year, any significant fluctuations in actual results or from the budget. The financial statements do include, just so you know, a individual balance sheet and income statement for every fund that the county accounts for, as well as the combined impact of all of those. So you can see countywide total assets, total liabilities, et cetera. There's significant footnote disclosures in areas such as investments, capital assets, debt, pension, et cetera. Really all the required disclosures that you have to include in your financial statements per GASB reporting requirements. Any questions from me? I know that's high level, but it's a lot of, as I said, the audit is a really long process. As far as when we perform interim testing, usually in December or January, it takes several weeks to get the information ready for us. We come in, we perform testing, ask a lot of questions, and then work through the financial statements as well. But any questions for myself or Betty on either the deliverables or the audit process itself? Happy to go through those.
Questions?
No.
Saying none.
It's a lot of work, but thank you very much for everything you do.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good news. Congratulations to our audit finance department for having such a good report. So,
Thank you. All right, thank you.
All right, next item, please.
Item 3, consent agenda.
We have 6 items on the consent agenda today. If there's no questions, I'll move for approval.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Mays, seconded by Commissioner Cook. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Next item, please.
Item 4, new business. A, County Clerk number 1, consider all voucher payments.
Okay, under detention facility, paid with ARPA and SLFRF funds. Meridian Roof Solutions, $20,137.68. It's for Phase 2 of roof replacement. Under Equipment Fund, Sunflower Paving, Inc., $17,750. It's for replacement of parking area in Betty Phillips Park. Total vouchers as of June 24th, 2022 is $1,490,916.55. If there's no questions or comments, I would move for approval of vouchers. Second.
Okay, motion's been made by Commissioner Rippon, seconded by Commissioner Cook. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Next item, please.
Item A2, consider correction orders.
I'll move for approval of the correction orders.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Mays, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Next item, please.
Item B, emergency management number 1, consider approval to ratify the increase in rates that will be put into place for fiscal year 2023 in accordance with sections 8.5 and 8.7 of Contract C 207-2016 between Shawnee County and American Medical Response, AMR.
Morning, Commissioners. Nelson Castiel, Ambulance Compliance Officer. This is one of our yearly housekeeping items that we do as a part of the contract we have with AMR. This will be the 3rd time that they have asked for a rate increase. It will also be the 3rd time that their rate increase was 2.5% or under during the life of the contract. The contract was signed in it was signed in July of 2016, but it went in effect January of 17. And then we still have the full contract going another 5 years from now till 2027. The rate increase this year includes a request for a $5 fuel charge. For obvious reasons, Mickey tells me, he's the operations manager from AMR here, and he can tell you just how high that percentage is, being he's only 50% through his year here.
Good morning, Commissioners. To echo what Nelson is stating, running through the end of May, my fuel budget is already 170% of what it should be. I anticipate that we're going to be out of money on our fuel by the end of this month. So we do need to make an adjustment just so that I can cover the cost of fuels. Aside from that, everything else has gone up. The cost of our medical supplies is almost at 4%. So I'm hoping that you'll grant us this 2.5% increase, as well as the $5 surcharge per trip.
Any questions?
Any other big changes that you're seeing within the medical field, or is there anything we can do from the commission standpoint to help your efficiency and provide better public service?
We are still trying to get the nurse navigator line up and running, so that will hopefully eliminate all of our non-emergent, non-critical calls, which will have a great impact on savings, not only for us, but the fire department and on our field budgets, by just not having to run those calls. Other than that, really, everything's beyond what we can control.
From a staffing perspective, are you guys having the same feel that everybody else is having in the employment and getting enough employees, keeping enough employees?
We are finding plenty of emergency medical technicians. We are still having a major shortfall of paramedics. Part of that is because the state of Kansas requires an associate's degree, and so we get people in school, but it's a minimum of 18 months before we see them again. So paramedics are our biggest challenge at this current time. We're still short the 5 that we were short the day that I walked into the job.
Okay. I don't have anything else.
No questions?
Ripon?
Nope.
Okay. I mean, it sounds like this is needed, so I'll move for approval.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Mays, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Next item, please.
Item C, Parks and Recreation, number 1, consider authorization and execution of contract C-197-2022, the authority to award contract commitment of county funds resolution for the Transportation Alternatives Project, Deer Creek Trail, Robinson Extension, in the amount of $138,000. Shawnee County Parks and Recreation Building Maintenance Fund 397 is responsible for 100% non-participating and 20% match of participating funding.
Good morning, Commissioners. John Boyd, Parks and Recreation. This is our final installment for the Deer Creek Trail Robinson Extension. We're asking for your approval of this contract and to pay the invoice for the upfront cost for the project. KDOT received excellent bids. They're quite pleased with them, and we would be more than happy to go ahead and get your approval to do that. This is going to complete the connection for the Deer Creek Trail that we've currently got under construction. 2/3 of a mile, connect us up so we'll be clear across town with the trail. Questions?
Questions?
Well, this is a major link, the trail. This means you'd be able to ride around Lake Shawnee, jump onto Deer Creek, go north to the Shunga Trail, go west all the way out to like the new Wheatfield development, and maybe cross 5 streets. So
Correct, yeah.
this was one of the
huge.
linchpins. It's something we've been
Absolutely.
waiting for a long time.
Yeah.
So, now, this project is bid out by KDOT, is that
Correct,
correct?
yes.
Okay. And,
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Commissioner Rippon, I don't disagree with you one bit. It's a great addition to the trail system, and the public loves the amenities that we offer through Parks and Recreation, including the trails, but it doesn't come without a cost. If we look at the cost, $623,000 for 2/3 of a mile. I think that the public doesn't always appreciate the amount of work and effort and budgeting it takes to build the trail system. Generally speaking, each mile of trail costs us about $1 million, which, but for the KDOT grants, but for good budgeting by the Parks and Recreation Department, we couldn't continue to build the trail system that we build. So it takes a lot of partners to build these, so.
Yes.
all right. That I'll move for approval.
Second. Motion's been made by Commissioner Rippon, seconded by Commissioner Mays. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Item D, Department of Corrections, number 1, consider issuing a request for qualifications to serve as the contractor for the design-build project for the replacement of HVAC system. Department of Corrections is seeking a qualified heating, ventilation, and air conditioning system contractor to design and install a new system at the jail annex. This project was approved for ARPA SLF-RF funding with a project number of 2021-10.
Good morning, Commissioners. Eve Kendall from the Department of Corrections. Before you, we have a request that we know that, well, let's just say that, you know how sometimes you're at home and you start a project and you think it's going to be an easy DIY project. You've watched videos and so on and so forth. But then once you get into it, you're like, maybe not. So then you end up calling a specialist. Well, this is where we are. In December, we were approved to go out and to solicit bids for this project. But as we were trying to make sure that we did it right, we realized that we might be over our head because of the renovation that we have to do to make sure all the pipes and plumbings and fixtures all fit together. So we're requesting to go out for the design build program, basically, to make sure that we do this right, because we are using grant money and we know that it's got to last a long time. So with your approval, we would like to make this happen and do the job right.
Any questions?
I'll move for approval.
Second. Motion's been made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Mays. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Major. Next item, please.
Item 5, public comment.
I don't have anybody signed up. Is there any member of the public wishing to speak today? Seeing none. Next item, please.
Item 6, administrative communications.
Any administrative communications?
Good morning, Commissioners. Carrie Delphs, Clinical Services Division Manager with the Health Department. As announced last week by KDHE and CDC, vaccine eligibility for the COVID vaccine has been expanded to those 6 months to 5 years of age, and the Health Department has received our first shipment. So we are offering those vaccines now by appointment or via walk-in. I also wanted to mention that today is National HIV Testing Day. So folks can reach out to the Health Department. We can connect them with testing, or they can check with CDC or HIV.gov.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other? There we go.
Tim Laurent, Shawnee County Parks and Recreation Department. Want to take a minute to remind everybody, July 4th is right around the corner. Wanted to sort of briefly talk about the Spirit of Kansas, which will be our 25th year for Spirit of Kansas at Lake Shawnee. We'll have the water ski show, we'll have the car show, we'll have the blues festival. All those things will be going on that day. And then the fireworks display usually starts about 10 o'clock that night. So looking forward to a good crowd, and hope a lot of people show up, come out. The next thing I wanted to talk about briefly is Cushionberry Park. Specifically, I'd like to talk about some of the improvements that we made. Now, recently, you might have seen that we've got some good press coverage about renovating Old Buff, which we found out is the name of the buffalo, and some of you may have known that, but I didn't know that. Old Buff is the name of the buffalo at Cushionberry Park, and we did replace the sign there. We're going to go through a few of the things that we've done at Cushionberry, but there's Old Buff. I wish I'd have put an old picture in here, because it's the difference right now is amazing between the way it looks now and the way it did look. But Old Buff was the mascot of the Kansas Technical Institute, which served African Americans from Kansas and around the nation from 1895 to 1955. So we worked with artist Deanna Morrison, who's the owner of the Amused Gallery in Noto, and she did all the restoration work on Old Buff, and I think he turned out pretty great. So we are still gonna do a little landscaping around this area, and eventually get an interpretive sign up that kind of tells the history of Old Buff. So, but along those lines, we've kind of cleaned up that stage area a little bit. Took out some tired landscaping and replaced that. We've put all new sidewalks in Cushionberry Park, new benches, picnic tables, grills, new water fountain. That's that, we did not replace that. That is the playground structure that was there. I think eventually we'll want to go in and replace that safety surfacing. It's starting to get a little worn out. And then we did put in and replace the basketball court. So a lot of improvements at Cushenberry Park, and just wanted to take a minute to brag about what we've gotten done. So, all right,
Looks
Great.
great.
thank you.
Any other administrative communications today? Commissioner Rippon?
I have nothing to add.
Commissioner Cook?
We had on Thursday a rollout of the Momentum 2027 with our investors out at Valeris Aviation, and great turnout, good rollout, exciting things to happen from Momentum 2027. And then this weekend was the Brew at the Zoo, and it was good to see everybody back out and enjoying the zoo and just enjoying the good weather.
Yeah. I don't have anything else to add, so we'll go to the next item, please.
Item 7, executive session.
Now, we do have a need for executive session, so I'll move that we go into executive session for a period not to exceed 20 minutes for the following reasons. To discuss personnel matters of non-elected personnel, specifically compensation of non-elected personnel, and then also for the consultation with an attorney for the public body or agency, which would be deemed privilege in the attorney-client relationship for the same issue. No action is expected following this executive session. I said 20 minutes. Let's start that at 9:25, because I think we've got probably some conversations that need to happen before that. So that is my motion.
Second.
Motion's made by Commissioner Mays, seconded by Commissioner Cook. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. We'll be in executive session at 9:25.
All by yourself? What happened? Where'd your friends go?
They're coming.
Oh.
They're coming. They got 14 seconds.
They got 14 seconds.
He's just faster than the rest.
We good? Okay, we are back from executive session. No action was taken. We are adjourned.